I have a friend who lives in this spiritual community in the middle of nowhere in Italy, kind of isolated from the big cities, and they do some crazy, innovative spiritual stuff over there. She was telling me about her friend who has this project. Basically, it gives you a big, long questionnaire. It takes you more than an hour to fill all of the questions, and at the end of it, it produces a sort of sheet of paper with a sort of strange geometrical form in it. And the deal is, before you go to bed at night, you grab that the geometrical form and you follow it with your eyes, and you follow it and you follow it and you follow it for half an hour. And that night, when you dream, you're not gonna dream inside of your brain. That thing is actually an address, and it kind of programs your brain to go to that address in the astral plane. And the most interesting thing, she told me, is that it's an address, right? So you can send 2 people there, or 10 people there, or 100, and they will meet, and they will talk. I don't know if that's true, okay? I haven't been there, but this idea has lodged itself in my brain. It's been more than a year. I'm still thinking about it. By that same time, I was writing for a lot of blogs for work, which is something that I've always done here and there, but this particular time of my life, it was happening a lot. I found a lot of blog gigs for some reason. And I was writing both about things that interest me very much and about things that I don't care at all. But I was finding pleasure in that process. It was nice, and the feedback that I got is that people were very happy with my work. So I thought to myself, you know what, I'm having a good time with this, and I've written here and there, but maybe I should get really more into it. I was well educated in narrative structure because of my work with games, so I was looking for something more writing specific. Not the hero with 1,000 faces, but something like 1,000 ways to write characters in novels. And I remembered that one of my favorite authors, Stephen King, he had a book called On Writing. And I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I actually have a big Dark Tower tattoo that I can't show you with this attire, but maybe I can put an image here. So I thought, you know what, if I'm gonna start anywhere, I might as well start here. And I found out that he had an audiobook that he read himself, and I was just fascinated by this idea. I bought it and I put it on my e-reader, and I started listening to it while biking. The book is really good, but it was also really different from what I was expecting, and it's mostly not about writing. It's a memoir, it's a fascinating memoir, and there's just a segment there that it's about writing. But when we got to that part of the book, I was already so invested on the character that was Stephen King that I think it really etched the knowledge into my brain. And the most interesting part was that this book proposed a technique, a method for writing that was profoundly different from anything I had experienced. It was a free process, and I think if Stephen King doesn't say exactly this sentence, he says something very similar, but things in the lines of, when you start writing a scene, you don't need to know how it's going to play out. And this was radical for me, especially with like a blog work. You need to outline everything that you are thinking about writing to your client before the client approves. So not knowing what the hell was going to happen was, I don't know, exciting, cool, different, and I wanted to try it out. Then, where to start? And Stephen King advises that you shouldn't fabricate a concept. You should look for the things that you're already thinking about. What are your true deep interests? Is there anything you've been obsessing? Maybe you should write about that. And then I thought about the lines. Of course, I couldn't stop thinking about the lines and waking up and finding somebody and having a conversation in my dreams. And I was like, you know what? Cool. I'm gonna give it a go. So I wrote the story about this boy who I didn't really know who was, I just knew it was not me, waking up in a mountain range. And in this mountain range, things were a bit off. The colors behaved differently. The shapes that the mists formed around him were too beautiful to be natural. He goes to the ledge, and it's so tall, the height is so immense that it feels that the whole mountain range is swaying by the wind. So he's walking around this beautiful and bizarre place when he meets someone. Someone that kind of feels human but not human at the same time. That was it. I was hooked. I wanted to know who was this person. I didn't. It took months to actually know who was this person, and took a lot of interaction, and I was hooked. It felt more like reading than writing. So I started to dedicate more and more, increasingly more time to writing throughout my weeks, because I was just having such a wonderful time, and I was just so curious about those characters. They seemed to have a life of their own, and I was just unfolding their lives in front of me, and yeah, I was hooked. And I started to write, and finally, after, 8-9 months, I had a book. It's not the end of the process, but I do have a little over 75,000 words that, if you read in a sequence, will make sense, which is a big deal. The thing is, when you finish your first draft, everybody tells you that you gotta take a break. This is well known, everybody agrees. 2-week, 3-week, a month break or something like that. And here I am in my break, realizing that I don't know how to live my life without writing anymore. It's Saturday, 2:30 in the afternoon, and I don't know what to do. I should be writing. This is what I did every free time that I had for months and months. And actually many of the pieces of advice that I read even advise you not to write anything. Just take a full break from writing, go pursue other things, go learn how to play the flute or whatever. And I have a lot of YouTube experience in my past, so I thought to myself, you know what, I might just record a video about this writing experience, since I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about the lines. Listen, I'm not a pro, I'm not a published author with a Hugo Award, but I'm somebody who found extreme, intense pleasure doing this. I really, really love writing, and it has become part of my personality at this point, really. So I wanted to contribute to that. I wanted to put some pieces of useful information out there. You know what? Some of the advice that I followed and that really worked for me was given by 16-year-olds. So I might have something, some little snippet of knowledge that might work for someone. So I'm starting this YouTube channel, which is cool. It's been years since I started a new YouTube project, and I really love YouTube and videos in general. So if you want to follow this journey, if you want to learn more about this chaotic form of writing, subscribe, and in a couple of weeks I will be back. Thank you for your attention, and I'll meet you in your dreams.